Okay, it's recording.
Yeah, what is today? The 27th, right?
27th.
Monday, August 27th.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
September 27th.
All right, and so we're calling the meeting to order, and next is the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll all stand for the pledge. Ready? Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going to do roll call. Thank you, Mark.
Lucy Weber.
Here.
Paulette Walker is absent. Gary Schrader.
Here.
Evelyn Cunningham. Bianca Buchanan. We have a quorum.
Right, and then you guys should have minutes in your packets, so Chair, you should ask if the committee has reviewed the minutes and whether anybody has any changes, and if not, if somebody will make a motion to approve. You can. Did we email them the minutes ahead of time?
No.
Yeah, give them a couple, 30 seconds to look at. They're short, so. Does anybody have any changes, additions, deletions? Okay, so the chair, one thing everybody needs to know is the chair, Robert's Rules of Order do not allow the chair to make a motion or to second a motion. So the chair at this point would say, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes, and then somebody else from the committee would make that motion, and then somebody would second it, and then you guys will vote on it.
All right, I make a motion, we approve the minutes from August 30th, 2021.
I'll second that motion.
And you call the vote.
Motion made by Gary Schrader, seconded by Lucy Weber. Lucy?
Yes.
Gary Schrader?
Yes.
Evelyn Cunningham? Yes. Bianca Buchanan? I'm sorry. Okay, can you speak into the microphone?
Yes.
You do have to. All right, so tonight we're going to start with Heidi Seigel, our town planner. She's going to give you a presentation. She's going to tell you a little bit about the planning department and also give you an overview of the town boundaries. And then after and thank you very much to her, we're going to launch in after she does her presentation into a discussion of the charter itself, which you have in your packet, and we should be out of here by 7 o'clock. It won't be too long. So, ready?
Ready.
Okay. Are you going to advance this? Or is she going? Okay.
Now my mic's, oh, there it is. Yeah, it works. I think yeah, it's short.
I know.
So again, my name is Heidi Seigel and I'm the town planner. I'll let you know when we're ready to advance. I joined the town in January, but I've worked for other cities around South Florida as well as the Seminole Tribe over the last 23 years. The town planner's office historically has been outsourced by a consultant, so I'm the first in-house full-time planner for the town. What my department deals with is basically planning and zoning. So when someone has an idea about opening a business in town, building a building, building new housing, adding new mobile home sites to the mobile home parks, they come through my office. So I get calls throughout the day. Can I have a smoke shop? Can I have this type of shop? Can I be a mechanic? Can I sell cars? The answer is no, you can't sell cars in our town. So I go through the zoning code, which is outside of the charter, and review their uses that they want to do, and based on their location, whether it's something that's allowed. It's not the planners, and I'm not being defensive, so I'm not using like me. It's not the planner's desire whether you can have a smoke shop, mechanic, or anything else. It is what the zoning code says. So I enforce basically the zoning code.
Now, we're not changing that.
No, that is separate, and that's in the Code of Ordinances. But I'm going to bring up something in my presentation that shows how the charter kind of limits the zoning code. So, and I'll go over that with you because it's one of my recommendations to your board. I staff a very similar board, the Planning and Zoning Board, and they look at all of the developments that are not single-family homes or individual mobile homes coming into the city. So anytime a new development's being built, it goes through the Planning and Zoning Board, and then it goes on to the Town Commission. So just because I love sharing this information as much as I can. Right now, Planning and Zoning Board's meeting in 2 weeks, and a new Wawa gas station is coming to town. So they would review the plans and make a recommendation then to the Town Commission about it. So that's a general overview of what planning does for the town.
Did the car wash ever get approved?
It did get approved. They just tweaked a couple things in the design, so I just brought them back to the Town Commission. And I hope to see them in building permits shortly. Within a couple months is what I was told.
In case anybody doesn't remember, it's down there by Channel 10 News. That I do believe that lot, right?
Yes, it's the empty lot directly east of Channel 10. And it's going to be one of those, like, you go through yourself and then you can vacuum.
Have stations. Where
Stations.
You can vacuum,
And then the Wawa is right outside of Seneca. There's a large empty lot there right across from Broward Sheriff's Office. So it will be a Wawa, a Popeyes.
Street or on the same side as the car wash?
On the same side of the car wash, on the north side of the street. So as of right now, it's a Wawa, a Popeyes, a self-storage, and maybe a bank or a retail location. There's a small building also on site. So 4 buildings.
So it'll be not in addition to the Wawa, it'll be 3 others?
Correct. Yeah. So why is that good for the town? Besides that, you know, either you like the Wawa subs, or me, I like the iced tea, or it's reasonably priced gas. The reason why this is really good for the town is because it puts the property back on the tax rolls, and we would generate tax income from that property. When it's a property's empty, you make a little bit, but not as much as if there was construction. So that's kind of what we look for in planning. So the first part of my presentation, if you want to go through, I'm going to talk about the boundaries of the town, but I wanted to tie it back actually to your charter review work. And I don't think part of the committee would be to change the boundaries, but I know at the last meeting you all had some questions about the boundaries. But I wanted to point out that it is Section 7 of the charter, and it says they shall be as follows, and the boundaries are on file in the town's clerk's office. So as I go through this, I'm going to use 3 words. One is annexation. So that's when a city would pick up land and bring it into the town or annex it into the town. The other is incorporation, and that's when a town is formed. And then the other is de-annexation, which is when a town gives away land. And you'll see examples of all of these. So we'll go to the next slide. So the town was founded in 1959 through an act of the Florida legislator, and I know Melissa talked about this at your last meeting, but I wanted to show So on the left-hand side, and you have this presentation to take with you, is the establishment of the town. And on the right, it actually describes in words the boundaries. And it will tell you, you go a certain amount of feet to the left and to the right, east, west, south. A surveyor then draws out these boundaries. And I'm going to show you some pictures of it. Next slide. And then sometimes the boundaries were amended. So this was in, I think, I can't see that far, 1963, and the boundaries were amended. And this is what it looks like in the laws of the state. Okay, next slide. So this is what we looked like in 1959. We ran from Pembroke Road to Hallandale to the County Line Road, essentially, but we were only on the east side of what we know to be the town now. And then next slide. I just showed you on paperwork how the boundaries were amended. So we added going further down on Hallandale Beach Boulevard up until 48th. So up until where the laundry is now, or the Family Dollar.
And
Not the
then
Family
past
Dollar.
that's West Park?
There was no West Park. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Yep. No, that's part of the story.
Oh,
So
okay.
everything surrounding us except what we know today as the city of Hollywood or the city of Hallandale Beach was unincorporated Broward County. And this whole area out here was farms. And so there was actually another city named Hollywood Ridge Farms. And where we are now is actually where the city of Hollywood Ridge Farms was. And it was mostly farms. And they unincorporated, and they stopped being a city, and all that land went to the county. So everything pretty much that becomes Pembroke Park or West Park was part of the county's lands or unincorporated lands. Next slide. So 67, we pick up a little more land, which is basically more into what we know as Seneca today, and a little bit along County Line Road. And that little part on the bottom of the screen, that little green that sticks out, we'll pay attention to that as we go through the boundary. Next slide. And as you can see, we picked up what we call Lake Forest, which is most of the residential of West Park, what we know as West Park now. And that was actually Pembroke Park in the 60s. Next slide. So in the 70s, we grew even further, and that's when Hollywood Ridge Farms stopped being a city around that time, and we picked up their land as well. And now we go all the way to 52nd on this map. Next slide. Then we pick up the north side of Hallandale Beach Boulevard and basically go all the way to 441. So this is what the town of Pembroke Park actually looked like in 1970. And why is this good? So we were just talking about how the Wawa brings in tax revenue. Single-family homes bring in tax revenue too. And within this area, as you know, the city of West Park is mostly single-family homes. At some point, we de-annex parts of the city, and West Park is founded in 2005. So in 2004, we gave up a lot of land, and this is how we got to where we are today. And you can see that little piece that was poking out on the bottom, that is gone by 2004. And this is what the town looked like in 2004. And it's almost what it looks like today, except for, next slide, 2009, we gave away the McTier. No, this is one. It's a very subtle change. We give away the McTier Park to West Park because they needed more open space as part of their incorporation. And this is the boundary that we have today. So next slide. And this is what it looks like when you put it on the zoning map. And the zoning map tells us the type of uses we can have in town. So very broadly, the purple is manufacturing or industrial. The yellow is mobile home parks. The red is commercial or retail. The orange is townhomes, multifamily, apartment buildings. And the green is public or community uses. So that's where we stand today. Are there any questions on the boundary?
McTier Park. I thought that was part of Broward. I didn't know that it was Pembroke Parks.
Yeah, it was Pembroke Parks. And the way the ownership is now, because part of it is with the school board and the WLRN, the public radio. The ownership's really strange in there, but it is now in the boundaries of West Park. Yes. Yes.
So we actually extend into West Park some.
Well, our boundaries are our boundaries, and West Park's boundaries are their boundaries. Portions of West Park used to be Pembroke Park. Those same portions also were part of Broward County at different times.
I mean, because other than the red street or whatever that is in the
That's
middle,
Hallandale Beach Boulevard.
that's how, I mean, it's like a whole middle section is gone,
Right.
and then it comes up again.
So pretty much everything you see in white on the screen is West Park. And like I said, those are all single-family homes. And that's a lot of ad valorem tax revenue. So one of the impacts to our town is that, you know, we have smaller resources to pull our ad valorem tax revenue from. The mobile homes, we get one tax bill out of there, and that's from the mobile home park owner. We don't get from every individual lot into our ad valorem taxes. So it's it's basically a town of mostly commercial properties and condos or townhomes.
And mobile homes.
Correct, but the way the mobile home parks, from a tax revenue standpoint, the mobile home parks are no different than a commercial property. Because that's the business, the owner, he pays the tax bill, not the individual.
So are we bigger than West Park or no?
No, they have more land area than we do. It's matches up, but they are a little bigger. They also have the 441 frontage that we don't. Okay? All right. So I'll move on to the two things in the charter that reference what we do in planning and zoning or just reference us in general. So there's this section 15 of the charter, which lays out that the commissioners should be over departments, and I'm sure Melissa will talk further with you about just that as an operational structural issue. But I wanted to point out that when this was written in 1959, they called something the Department of Health and Zoning. There's no Department of Health or Zoning anymore. And also, while we answer very professionally to the elected bodies as a board, you hire a professional planner like myself, and the commissioner generally doesn't know the intricacies of my profession. So having this in there doesn't really, there's no need for it. So that's the one that I wanted to point out to you from zoning. And then the next one, and this is the one that goes back to how the zoning code could be limited by the charter. In 2000, the city commission put forward a charter amendment, and this is it on the screen, everything on the screen, that preserves the mobile home community lifestyle, which is very understandable. But within it, it says there should be no amendment to the town ordinances that changes the zoning map designation of a mobile home park by the town. We understand that without the electors, 65% of the electors agreeing to it, or changes the actual allowed uses within the mobile home park zoning districts without the electors agreeing to it. And we understand that. But then there's this last little part, and that's what I have highlighted in yellow. And it says that, or in any manner modifies the zoning regulations within the mobile home park district. So there's some that's tricky, and what that does is it kind of limits us, because right now we have a zoning code provision for mobile home parks, if you could go to the next page, that was written in 2000, but it's 21 years later, and there might be things we want to tweak about it. So the town commission is technically not able, per some previous opinions about this, they're not able to amend the mobile home park districts. And we have a little operational issue that's written into the code, and I have it circled on the bottom, which says that the town shall be responsible for the maintenance of the wastewater collection systems in each mobile home park up to the sanitation T of each mobile home lot or RV lot for use. So what that does is it means that the town is maintaining the on-site sewer systems of these private properties, the mobile home parks. And while that might sound great, we don't maintain the sewer at Seneca. We don't maintain the sewer at Coca-Cola. We don't maintain the sewer at Azure Villas next door, the rental community next door. And as I mentioned, really, while I understand that there's individual homes of people living in homes within the mobile home park, at the end of the day, the land underneath, just like it goes back to that tax bill I talked about, is a business. And we're providing a service to 13 businesses in town that we don't provide to anyone else in town. And so that has become now in 2021, when we are starting to count our pennies in the town and really look after our resources and making sure that we're running efficiency, that's not something we're sure we want to continue with. But because it's in the zoning code, the town commission cannot amend it.
So Nita, as a taxpayer, what you're saying is that I am paying for a service, but the person who owns that property is only paying that tax, but not responsible for that sewer, whatever it is that's. Okay.
This can easily be fixed by the town commission, by a majority of the town commission. Why would it be important to them? Because they're in charge of our budget. So this takes away from staff resources, us buying material to fix sewer lines, those type of things. But they can't, because if you can go back a slide, Susie. Thank you. Because of what I highlighted in yellow. So from a staff perspective, we agree with section 21B, preserve the mobile home lifestyle. If there needs to be a rezoning by the town, it has to be approved by 65% of the electors. A private property owner, the owner of that mobile home park, can decide to rezone it, and that's what this says. They can do it on their own. All we're asking is that it takes out the language about not modifying the zoning regulations. Because when the previous 21 years ago commission put this in the zoning regulations, maybe financially it worked for the town. Whatever the reasons why it worked for the town at the time, but it's obligating the town now financially to something that we're not sure we wish to continue.
Now, how does that affect? Does that affect how they maintain the sewers?
The mobile home park owners?
Because, like at our park, we have a huge thing by the laundry room that the guy comes and writes down stuff. And I was actually there when they built it. So how does that affect that?
It would keep working, but the maintenance of it would be the responsibility of the property owner, the mobile home park owner. Yes.
Recommend that we specify.
The sewer is out. The sewer's in the zoning code, so that's outside of your purview. But by removing the yellow highlighted language, that would allow the town commission from time to time to amend the zoning code as it sees fit.
I think that seems kind of broad.
I think in particular, the language that Heidi is concerned about is the language "or in any manner modifies." So the language that is overly broad in the charter is the language. What does it read? No amendment to the town ordinance that changes the actual zoning map designation of a parcel or parcels of land, changes the actual list of permitted, conditional, or prohibited uses, does not recommending that be changed. The language she's concerned about is the language that's very broad in the next clause, or in any manner modifies. That is the language which should be struck and taken out. Because there are changes in the zoning code that don't affect permitted uses, but that need to be cleaned up, but because of the way this section reads, it limits us from that. That, I believe, is the language that she thinks should be on. And we can talk about that in further depth later on. This is just an introduction to her department and the way it affects her department, but that language in particular, that clause, or in any manner modifies, is probably the language which should be changed or somehow tweaked so that it's less restrictive when it comes to cleaning up the zoning code. Not changing the permitted uses, but cleaning up the rest of the text in the code. That's it. So to continue in that vein, thank you. I gave you a handout of our charter, of the Town of Pembroke Park Charter, and it's highlighted in blue and yellow. And then I also gave you a copy of the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter. And I did this for, I put in the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter for illustrative purposes. You didn't get the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter?
Is it in the back?
I tell you what, I'm gonna pass this around.
I don't think any of us got.
Okay, I apologize for that. I'm gonna pass this around.
Melissa, I could go make copies.
Yeah, if you can make a couple copies, there should be a copy up there, because we printed it out this morning. All right, my apologies for that. The reason I handed out this City of Fort Lauderdale Charter, you're going to have a copy in a second, because our charter, although there have been some changes to it in the intervening years, by and large, the substantive portion of the Town of Pembroke Park Charter has not been changed in a really long time. And it really needs a wholesale revision. We need to go through the charter. There's some provisions in there which are outdated. There are provisions which just are not applicable anymore, and they need to be removed. They're just out of date and they don't apply. Or they're similar to this language where it doesn't quite work. There's some language that needs to be worked on. We need to discuss what to do with it. There needs to be a section similar to that, but the way it currently reads may not be exactly right. And so the reason that I included the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter is I like the structure of their charter. And so I think what we can all do is start with our charter and go through the highlight in blue are the provisions which are just completely out of date and not applicable anymore. And the provisions in yellow are the provisions which we need to have a paragraph similar in the charter, but they need to be revamped. And so we can quickly go through our charter, which you guys have in front of you, and you'll see, for instance, the first 2 pages, first 3 pages and a quarter of the 4th page I highlighted all in blue. This is all language which is just either not necessary or outdated, and needs to be removed and replaced. Some of it is actually language that was in there when the charter was first passed in order to take care of housekeeping things, like making sure that if there were lawsuits in progress, that the establishment of the new charter didn't affect them. So a lot of these things in the first 4 pages are things that can be removed from the charter, or they're things that can be truncated, shortened, reformatted, reworded, and moved to a different section in the charter. The reason I like City of Fort Lauderdale's charter is it is broken down into different sections. And the first section starts with government of city and form of government, which really is where a charter should start. And the very first thing the City of Fort Lauderdale charter does, and I'll let you guys pass it around since you don't have a copy. But you can see, starting at section 301, the very first thing it does is it tells you what kind of government they have. They have a commissioner, manager form of government. And that really should be the first thing we have in our charter. And we should clear up. Do you mind 15 minutes to go back to? I've been vaccinated.
Oh.
So by and large, our charter just needs to be restructured. We need to take it, we need to rewrite it, and the very first part of the charter, we should be discussing what form of government do we have? And our charter, a big issue, a big problem is that it doesn't really clearly, and we as a town don't really we've had kind of a quasi form of government, like a quasi commission, quasi manager commission form of government for a long, long time, and it's created a lot of issues here, particularly in regard to the power commissioners have versus the power the executive staff has. In Florida, you typically have either a manager commissioner form of government, or you have a strong mayor government. So, for instance, the town of West Palm Beach in West Palm Beach has a strong mayor form of government. Their commissioners are elected. They actually have a city manager, but their mayor actually is an administrator. Their mayor actually does run the town and hires and fires people and is a very active participant in running the town. That is called a strong mayor form of government. This town is not that way. It could be that way, but it's not. We can discuss more form of government, but I would suggest that the way the town currently runs is really a commissioner/manager form of government. And you can see in that City of Fort Lauderdale charter, that's what City of Fort Lauderdale has, a commissioner/manager form of government. And in that form of government, all the commissioners have an equal vote. All of you have the same power. The mayor is not a stronger commissioner than the rest of you. And I would say in Florida that while there are a lot of strong mayor forms of government, probably the most familiar form of government is the commission manager form of government. And so I would recommend that that's the way this committee move, but it's really up to you guys to discuss it here in this forum among yourselves when we get further into it, and it's going to be one of the first major meetings we have to discuss that, and we'll delve into it a little farther. But as you can see, it's really the first thing that should be in the charter, because anybody who comes here wants to know, if I come to Heidi and I'm a business person and I want to establish a business in the town of Pembroke Park, I want to know who's in charge. How does the government run? Who do I go to if I see something that maybe I need a change in the zoning code, and I go to Heidi and I ask her, can I open a business? And she says, yeah, well, you have to change the zoning code. Well, then I want to know, how does the town of Pembroke Park run? is it a strong mayor form of government? Because if it's a strong mayor form of government, if I'm a business person coming in from the outside, I'm probably going to pay more attention to the mayor, right? Because the mayor might control more things. Where if it's a commissioner manager form of government, I know that each of the commissioners has an equal power, and that the manager is very important. The manager who is hired by the commission is very important, and then I should probably go talk to each of the individual commissioners as well as the manager and find out what's going on. So it's probably something that you want right up front in your charter. What kind of government are we? Are we a strong mayor, or are we a commissioner manager form of government? The way our charter currently reads, the first 4 sections are all can all be moved and rewritten and probably put towards the end of the charter. They don't tell you anything. They don't really. I mean, it's kind of housekeeping. These clauses, again, carried over from that were in place to help business carry on when the new charter was established back in 1959. Contracts remain binding. Establishment of new municipality. So sections 1 through 6 can be either eliminated or reworded and moved. Section 7 in our charter is boundaries. Heidi went over that. I would recommend that this actually be in the charter. I would recommend it because when Heidi and I went through the exercise of figuring out the town boundaries, we actually had to do some research and figure out what they were. I think it's really important to have your town boundaries, to know what they are, and to have them set out in a document so that anybody can access them, rather than having it sitting in the town clerk's office. So I would recommend in section 7 to actually have the town boundaries in the charter. We should put them in there. Powers of the city. I don't think that we need an extensive list of powers of the city, because the Florida statutes says that municipalities have all powers which are not prohibited by law. So really, we have the power to do anything we need to do to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens and residents of the town. We are only limited by by documents which tell us we can't do something. So we couldn't do something which is against the U.S. Constitution or the Florida Constitution, or something which is prohibited by statute. So we really don't need to list out all these powers. They're inherent in the powers of the city anyway. So this can be moved and greatly shortened, section 8. Town Commission on page 4 is an important section, obviously. One of the things we're going to talk about in this section is the fact, there's a lot of things in this section which need to be changed. The first of which I will recommend is the fact that all of the town commissioners are elected, and all of the town commission seats expire at the same time. And that's just very disruptive to the town, to have everybody elected and everybody leave all at the same time. You want some continuity. You want what's called staggered elections, where part of the commission is elected, then 2 years later, another part of the commission is elected, and so that way you've got some continuity with the commissioners, not everybody leaving and coming and leaving at the same time. I would recommend section 9 be rewritten for the commissioners to have staggered terms, and the way we would do that is we would actually have to, it would actually, I think, actually, I'm not sure how we would do that, because there's, I'm sorry?
I can help you with language like that.
Yeah, so we'd have to think about how we would do that, but it can be done, and we probably should do it.
How many do we currently have?
You have 5 commissioners currently.
for the
Well,
top.
actually, you have 5 seats. You have 3 sitting commissioners.
Elections are every 4 years at this.
Yeah, so the next election is 2023.
I'm just being, it's like, okay, if we had 5 commissioners, then we should have elections every 5 years and just elect one a year.
You could, but typically towns do it in like maybe 2, 2, and 1, or 2 and 3, or
Yeah,
something.
that has more to do with math than it has any other-
Right, you know,
any
it's-
real sense.
Yeah, it could cost money to run an election. Anyway, that's something we're going to be discussing when it comes to Section 9 Town Commission. We're going to be discussing form of government and staggered terms. So those are the 2 most important things.
Now back to the 3 or 5. Why don't we have 5?
We don't have 5 because
We
we
don't
have
need-
our newest commissioner
Yeah.
here,
Mr. Schrader.
Commissioner
Please speak into
Hodgkins.
the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't have 5 because there was a commissioner, Ashira Muhammad, who was mayor at the time, who ran for a state office, and pursuant to state statute, she had to resign her seat in order to run for that seat. And then this summer, one of the sitting commissioners got very ill with COVID and decided she wanted to retire, so she resigned. And then 3 days ago, last week, Commissioner Clark resigned because due to health reasons, and Commissioner Hodgkins was appointed. So the reason we only have 2 commissioners is that the commission has declined to appoint or go to special election for those 2 seats. That's the reason. Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you had
No,
your hand up.
No, not raising my hand, no.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question, not going back too far, but from what I'm understanding, what you're saying about the commissioners, the way that we have it now, the commissioners that we have can make a rule of anything, and don't have to be, the other commissioners don't have to agree.
No, they
In
do.
the
They all
sense
have
of-
to.
I mean, but it's not like all 5 of them have to say yes, because if I have you in charge of this, and this is what you want to do at this particular city, that's what's pretty much
Well, you
done.
would have to have the rest of your commission vote for it. It would come up for a vote in front of the commission, and it would have to be passed by a majority of the commission. So you can't just go out and do whatever you want to do. It's a commission form of government in that if Commissioner DeVille wants to make a zoning change, he needs to bring that change to the commission. Actually, it has to go to planning and zoning and has to go through staff, but then it eventually comes to the commission, and the commission would vote on that, and it has to be passed by a majority of the commission. But no one commissioner has any more power than any other commissioner. They all have equal power versus a strong mayor form of government where the mayor in that instance has more power than the other commissioners.
What about the different sections in Pembroke Park? Is all of Pembroke Park on the same
Evelyn,
rules and I guess regulations? Every section of Pembroke Park on that same rule?
I mean, unless you're talking about zoning, which zoning depends on what category of land use you're in. So there is a residential section, there are mobile home sections, there are commercial sections, there are, industrial sections. So there are different rules for different land use classifications. But generally, that's the only thing that's going to change from neighborhood to neighborhood. Does that answer your question? So, moving on. This section 9A is complete, I checked with Heidi today, is completely out of date, and was out of date after the West Park annexation, so this can be removed completely. Office is fine. Now, all of these sections that are highlighted, there should definitely be a section in the charter addressing these issues, for the most part. But all of them are sort of out of date or not written it's been so long that anything in this charter has been addressed. They're almost all out of date and need to be rewritten and updated to reflect the times that we're living in. For instance, Section 15, which is one Heidi discussed. This is a really, down at the bottom of page 6 in our charter, this is a really, really problematic section for the town, and I'm recommending that it just be deleted. Back in 1959, it may have been okay for the, there may have been a Department of Taxes in the town, there may have been a health and zoning department, but there isn't anymore. And further, there's something called separation of powers in local government, just like there's in the federal government. And really, commissioners should not be directing the day-to-day business of the town. They should be up there making public policy, making laws, making, helping the town run. But when it comes to the day-to-day activities of the town, I should be making those decisions. Heidi should be making those decisions. The town manager should be making those decisions. We are the people who serve the commission, and then and we bring these the greater issues to the commission, and they vote on that. But they shouldn't be. There was actually a commissioner when I started here a year ago who was in the public works department every day, running like telling the public works personnel what to do. We cannot have that. It just can't, the town cannot, and it created tremendous problems. And so we were able to change that. But that's an example of the legacy of this paragraph in this charter, that it created a confusion on the part of the commissioners, that they thought that they had the ability to walk in and just tell a staff member to do something, and they don't. It really is up to the town manager. And if they have a concern, a commissioner should go to the town manager and talk to the town manager, and then the town manager takes care of it. Otherwise, it's just like what you said. It'd be 5 different bosses telling people to do 5 different things. So this paragraph is just completely out of date, incorrect, and should just come out of the charter. The additional compensation paragraph can come out. That's when commissioners were running around running the Department of Tax 40, 50 years ago, and there is no more Department of Tax. Section 18, the Finance Department is going to talk about this section when Harry Taubenfeld comes and talks to you. This definitely we need a paragraph like this in the charter, but again, needs to be updated. They talk about checks in here. Yes. They talk about checks. Sorry, Susan. They talk about checks in here.
What section are you talking about?
Section 18, I'm sorry, page 7. It's not up to date. Everything is done electronically now. This is a problematic paragraph for us. Obviously, there should be checks and balances in finance, but this is outdated and needs to be updated. Bond requirements, again, should be someplace in either the charter or the code, but needs to be updated. Section 21 on page 8. Page 8 is I think is fine. We could probably update it a little, but by and large, it's fine. Section 21A is outdated and needs to be, if anything, some of it may stay, but it needs to be updated. It's just old and refers to Broward County Building and Zoning Department requirements, and it needs to be updated to reflect current conditions. Which brings us to Section 21B, preservation of mobile home communities. As Heidi said, this particular provision is unique to this charter in this town, but I think at the time this passed, which was in 2000. Again, the charter has been updated over the years. This particular charter provision was added in the year 2000. And obviously, mobile homes are an important feature in this town. A lot of people live in mobile homes who live in the town of Pembroke Park. And so this paragraph needs to be updated and is something that we will discuss in depth when the time comes. And that's pretty much it. Again, if you take a look, if you go back to the city of Fort Lauderdale, I handed it to you guys. Somebody hand me. Thank you.
Here's yours.
I think the city of
All
Fort
your little
Lauderdale charter,
stickies.
wow,
Wait till you get back.
minute Nazi over there. Oh, that's right.
That's her job.
That's right. She's doing a good job. The city of Fort Lauderdale charter is obviously, the city of Fort Lauderdale is huge. Hundreds, if not thousands of employees. Our charter is not going to be this big. But again, I like the form, the sections. It's very up to date. Article 1, government and government of city and form of government. Article 4, executive officers. That's another thing about our charter and our code. We don't have in our charter any executive officers. We should have executive officers in our charter. The town manager should be in our charter. These positions should be in our charter. The town manager, the town attorney, and the director of finance, and the clerk, which is all, as you will see in the city of Fort Lauderdale charter. Those are usually the 4 charter positions, not always finance, but definitely manager, clerk, and town and city attorney. And the city of Fort Lauderdale also has finance. So the most important positions are in the charter because you want them to have equal weight. You want all of those executive director positions to be equally important. So, for instance, the town manager and I'm the city attorney, I'm the town attorney, J.C. Jimenez is the town manager. We have equal authority because we were both hired by the town commission. So he can't tell me what to do, and I can't tell him what to do. And luckily, we work very well together. But it's important to have those checks and balances, to have professionals at the top who are looking at one another, looking over one another's shoulder, and making sure we all get it right.
So who's over the town manager?
The commission, the 5 commissioners.
Now, does each section of town, of the town, like the maintenance, the guy that does the signs, those all have a manager too, or no?
So that
Or like a supervisor then?
yeah, but
So, meaning the head would be commissioner, manager,
did we
supervisor,
put an
worker.
organizational chart? I think there's an organizational chart in your book. In the first, do you have your books? Right? We think we gave you an org chart, and
Yes,
it's gonna show you there's the 5 commissioners,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember seeing that.
and then there should be a line down, town manager.
Front cover.
So generally, charters have the 4 executive positions, and then from there, those 4 executive positions will be the people who supervise the rest of the town. So the commission hires and fires those 4 senior executives, and those 4 senior executives hire and fire the rest of the town employees. Mostly the town manager. So I would recommend putting those positions, just as it's in the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter, in the Town of Pembroke Park Charter.
And are they different than these without looking?
You mean, are the job descriptions the same? Or,
I mean, the pecking order.
yeah. Generally. And then if you turn to page 25 of the Fort Lauderdale Charter, you'll see there Article 5, Administrative Organization. Now, again, they are huge. We are not going to have a civil service system. We don't need it. But that's where their administrative sort of employment stuff is. But we don't really need that in this town. They have a separate section for elections on page 29. Moving on from those 4 executive level positions, talking about the rest of the charter. Again, looking at City of Fort Lauderdale Charter, on page 29, they have a separate section for their elections, which we should have. On page 34, they have a section dealing with public property. On page 42, we should have a section in our budget, I'm sorry, in our charter, similar to this. Page 42, Article 9, Annual Budget and Levy. And then just at the end, they have some miscellaneous provisions where you can kind of,
32? Oh, 40.
page 42, Article 9, Annual Budget and Levy. And then towards the end, there's sort of a catch-all section with miscellaneous provisions. So I think that's a good place to start. You know, yes, Susie, speak into my mic. What we're going to start doing now is I'm going to kind of next time leave it up to you guys to pick a particular portion of the chart that you want to work on, and we can sit down and talk about it. We're not going to talk about it now. Next time I'm going to have Harry Tabenfeld come. He's our finance director, so maybe it'll be the finance section that we decide that we'll work on. And what we need to start doing is actually taking portions of this code, and I will write, proposed language and bring it to you, and we will discuss it, and we will discuss the issues that are involved, and slowly we will put together a new charter to bring to the town commission to consider. And it may not be, you all 5 of you, you're missing one today, but you're going to vote on it. And so that's what we're going to be doing over the next 7, 8, who knows, 12 months. Any questions?
So we're gonna put something together on changing something or keeping it together, and then we're all 5 of us are gonna vote whether we want this change.
Yes, sir. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna discuss it, and then you guys are gonna vote on it. And it, I think it's gonna be it is an evolving process. You guys are here for a reason. I need your input as citizens. I need your thoughts. I need your opinions on how best things should be done. And it's a learning process for both of us. So take a look at the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter. Keep in mind, we want our charter to be more like the City of Fort Lauderdale Charter. Look at our charter, the sections that are highlighted, how can they be, they either need to be eliminated or written better and updated. Any other questions or suggestions? All right, and also in the packet that you were given is a list of our next meeting dates for the next 6 months, highlighted, that Susie did for us. So you know, Chair, I think we're ready.
Oh, those will be the next meeting date.
Yes, sir. Unless the majority of you have a conflict, and then we can change it. But just take a look at them and let us know.
And these are all Mondays.
Yes, sir. Everyone is the last Monday, except I think I changed the Thanksgiving one because the last Monday was going to be the week of Thanksgiving or something. But anyway,
Oh, yeah, I see that, yeah.
Right after the
Change the
Thanksgiving.
one that was gonna be right after Christmas too.
or something. All right.
November,
So now,
Got it.
Madam Chair, you can ask for a motion to adjourn. In the mic.
Okay, I'm asking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Got to have a second,
I'll second that motion.
and then you go adjourn.
We're now adjourned.
All right, good job, guys. Thank you, Heidi.
Now
Thank
you
so
don't have